everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Algorithm Podcast.
Hello.
My name is Kerrigan, and I am joined by
Uh,
the host,
Carl.
Carl. And
Yes.
today we are talking about Miss Ruby Franke.
And her family.
Yeah. And
Mostly
everything.
about her and her psychotic girlfriend.
Yeah, whatever Miss Jody is.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I had so many emotions watching this one. This one brought out a lot for me because I know that like YouTube moms get a lot of bad publicity these days. But for me and like my motherhood journey, YouTube was kind of like a big deal for me. Like because of where I lived, I didn't have anybody around me to go to for advice and stuff like that. So I've watched YouTube moms for years and years, and I follow a bunch of them.
Yeah.
So
You had a kid right at like the height of the YouTube
yeah,
family explosion.
because COVID happened and everybody was like, all right, social media.
Yes.
So it opened up a lot of opportunities for me to seek community in that. So this case for me was really hard to, I don't know, it was really hard for me to watch because
It definitely changed how I viewed, because my daughter watches YouTube families.
yeah,
And it kind of changed how I viewed that.
yeah,
And now I'm kind of like, I don't want to say skeptical, but I'm overly cautious about what I let her watch
100%.
when it comes to reality YouTube family type deals.
It's a sketchy world out there, and not everybody is sketchy. Not everybody is going into it with bad intentions, but when you start to expose these families and what goes on behind the camera, the stuff that's not recorded, it is a whole different emotion.
When you want to talk about exposed.
Yeah.
So I had heard of Ruby Franke. I don't think ever heard
I've
of her?
heard of her, yeah.
Yeah,
I never watched
heard of her, but I'd never really dug into anything. And this was, I guess, like really recent, like last several years.
Yeah.
So the reason why we're covering this is because, as per just about every episode, Hulu came out with Ruby Franke, or what is it called?
Ruby, the Devil in the Family.
The Devil in the Family, The Fall of Ruby Franke.
Yeah.
And this show, pretty much, they got permission to use a lot of footage.
Yeah, like deleted footage.
Like deleted footage from this family. And I was hooked. Like, I knew we had to cover this as soon as I watched the trailer.
Oh, yeah.
And like when Erica showed me the trailer, I was like, okay, that's our next episode.
Yeah. As soon as you mentioned it to me, I was like, okay. So then I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, so that's what we're getting into.
We've covered a lot of cases and a lot of topics that have really pissed me off.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, we did Delphi.
Mm-hmm.
We did Gosh. We've done Nickelodeon.
Yeah, I think the
Ivy Ridge.
The Ivy Ridge one got me.
Ivy Ridge.
Had me fired up.
I don't think so it's not as like bad as obviously like Delphi with like Murder of Girls or whatever, but because we knew, obviously the outcome. I don't think anything's ever pissed me off so much than this.
Yeah, it had me pissed off and I shed tears, but
I made a Facebook post. You've seen it.
Yeah.
I said I've never been.
Yeah.
I texted Erica at midnight. I said I am pissed off.
Yeah, I was sad. I cried because I was sad. I cried because I was angry. I cried because I was confused by all of it. I was like, I don't know. It brought up a lot for me.
From the opening scene.
Yeah.
From the opening scene, which we're going to talk about immediately. But we can get into it if you'd like.
Yeah.
You can lead us off if you want.
Okay.
Ruby Franke, and she is a piece of work.
She is.
And her fucking fantastic friend.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get started, so their names are Ruby and Jody. I kept like switching the B and the D, so I kept saying Rudy and Joby. Every single time I was like thinking to it, I was like, her name is not Joby, it's Jody.
Jody. Yeah.
But I kept tripping myself up over that. So if I do that while I'm reading,
It's all good.
It's fine. Okay. One day in late August 2023, a worryingly thin 12-year-old boy approached a neighbor's front door in Ivins, Utah. He rang the doorbell and waited for a response. At first, no one appeared to answer, and the boy almost left. Then someone called out to him through the Ring doorbell's camera. I was just wondering if you could do me two favors, the boy asked. If you could take me to the nearest police station. And then he said, any police station will do.
Yeah.
And just from that alone, I was like, oh no.
And he said, can you do me two favors? Well, one favor, just take me to a police station.
Yeah.
Yes. Hi, I was just wondering if you could do two favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
What's going on, son? Have a seat there.
It's personal business.
Have a seat. What's your name? How'd you get here?
I
222-1512. I just had a 12-year-old boy show up here at my front door asking for help. And he's said he had just came from a neighbor's house and he's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry and he's thirsty.
need someone immediately.
But he has duct tape around his
Injuries, there's sores around them.
Yeah, there's sores around him. I think the good chance he's been.
He also had
And he has been
around
around
his
his
wrist
ankle.
as well.
I mean, his wrist as well. Okay, this boy has been.
Needs immediate attention. Oh, he was such a good kid.
This kid is obviously been. I think he's hungry and he's been young, but he's had various stocking feet. So he escaped.
We need the police here now.
They're on the line.
And I mean, put
Right away.
yourself in their shoes.
Yeah. Well, when that older gentleman walked out and he was like, go ahead and have a seat.
Yeah,
Go ahead and sit down. I was like, oh,
Have a seat.
oh no. Like immediately I was just like teary eyed because you can tell by watching the footage. He's just tiny.
Mm-hmm.
He's just skin and bone.
A woman walked outside and gave the boy some water, while the man who answered the door called the police to report an emaciated child with tape around his legs who was hungry and thirsty. When police arrived at the scene, they learned that the boy, the youngest son of local YouTuber Ruby Franke, had climbed out the window of a nearby home owned by Franke's business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. This is Russell, by the way. He and his 10-year-old sister, and I think her name was Eve, had been held captive in the luxury mansion. When I say luxury mansion, this place was insane.
It was literally an Airbnb in a house in one building.
Yeah.
Like
this is something that you see
huge.
like a movie star or someone famous would live in. And this chick lived in here. Like, we'll get to Jody in a little bit, but she lived in this place by herself.
It literally looked like it was from the scene of a movie. When they were doing like the aerial shots of it, I was like,
yeah.
Holy.
Yep.
Ooh.
He had climbed out the window of a nearby home owned by Franke's business partner, Jody Hildebrandt. He and his 10-year-old sister had been held captive in the luxury mansion where they were routinely starved, isolated, and physically abused. Their mother, who once ran the popular family vlog YouTube channel 8 Passengers, had become convinced that the children were possessed by evil spirits.
So I didn't know about the Mormon background. I didn't know about like the LDS relation.
It's always the fucking LDS.
But man, as soon as they said it, I should have known.
As soon as they said LDS.
Oh my gosh. Well, as soon as they said
what did
Utah.
what did we just cover that was LDS? We just covered somebody that was LDS.
I can't remember. But as soon as they said Utah, I should have known that it's always the Mormons. And like the Mormon faith, which I'm not, I don't want to be disrespectful because everybody has their own beliefs, but the Mormons are cuckoo head when it comes to certain things. And I think it's hard to just look past that when there's so much being exposed these days
Yeah.
specific to that religion.
Yeah.
And it's wild the way that this story unfolds and how it all comes back to being possessed and it's evil and it's this and it's that. I just can't look past it. Like there's just no way. It's wild.
Yeah.
Soon after her child's escape, Frankie was arrested on multiple charges of child abuse. Hildebrandt, who co-founded the parenting advice YouTube channel and counseling service Connections Classroom with Frankie, was also arrested. Both are currently serving consecutive prison terms spanning 4 to 30 years after pleading guilty to child abuse. This is the true story behind the fall of Ruby Franke, the once successful family vlogger turned convicted child abuser. Whew. That was tough for me.
Yeah. Okay. Ruby Franke is a Mormon mother of 6 from Springville, Utah. Well, she is a mother of 6, but none of them kids claim her now. So this is talking in the present tense, but nah. In 2015, Frankie started a family vlog on YouTube titled 8 Passengers, where she documented the daily lives of her 6 children and husband, Kevin Franke. So they showed, I didn't know that their first video that they uploaded was the gender reveal.
Yes.
Of Eve, and I didn't know that was like a like an older video.
Yeah.
Like I guess because I've never watched their content, but I guess the original video is them opening up with that, and then her like being at home and then growing up as a toddler. That's the first video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frankie's channel became enormously popular. As of June 2020, the channel had climbed to around 2.5 million subscribers.
Which is crazy because, like, I feel like mom vloggers today, they're really not that popular anymore.
Yep.
Like, they're always going to be, to some extent, like a talking point and something that people will go to for entertainment. But it is, I mean, she grew this channel huge.
She was one of the biggest ones.
For a family channel, it's massive. Which I think is also a red flag because ain't no family that perfect.
So their first video that went viral was, I think it was either the middle or the youngest daughter climbing out of a crib.
Yes.
And it went viral.
Yeah.
Kevin said their first check from YouTube was $85.
Yeah.
And he said once they got that first check, it was like
it like triggered.
It triggered him because he was more like, I don't really see the point of doing this, but I'm just like, he was really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But once that first $85 check hit, it was like, okay, I'm all in.
Yeah.
But it was never about money for Ruby.
Yeah. No.
It was about justification. Like, look at the image of being the perfect mom.
Yeah.
And he went on to say that they were making upwards of $100,000 a month.
A month. When he said they were getting up to 3 figures a month, I was like, whoo.
You know, we don't run this YouTube channel for money, but could you imagine?
No, I could not imagine. Are you kidding
Could
me?
you imagine?
I mean, when they did like that real fast like edit of the money climbing,
yeah,
I was shocked.
Yeah,
because I don't.
It's real. Like I mean,
yeah.
you don't really think about it, but it's real. I remember when I got my first, because I used to stream video games on Twitch. I remember when I first got my $100 check from Twitch, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
It's crazy the things
like,
that views
you
can do.
can make money from doing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, this is a quote from Kevin. Ruby's sole ambition was to be seen as the perfect mom. That's all she talked about. That's all she focused on. But she wasn't getting enough praise and the attention for it. So she decided she was going to create a YouTube channel. And when she sets her mind to something, hell and earth combined could not stop her.
When he said that, I literally got cold chills.
The way
it sounded eerie.
So I was talking to you about this before we started recording. and I texted Erica, my wife, about 30 minutes into watching this.
Yeah.
And I texted her. I said, something is off about this dude. He comes off weird.
Yeah.
And I don't judge a book by its cover, but I had bad vibes about this dude from jump.
Yeah.
Like there was just something not right.
And everybody in like the talking points of these discussion groups that are popping up are saying like there's just like he did messed up things too. Like he was right there and even talked about some of the punishments and extents that they would go to when it came to their kids. And there's no way he's sitting in front of the camera on the other side of all of this saying,
well, they asked
didn't
him. Yeah, they asked him, "Did you know about the bad things that were going on?" Because I just watched this again. They asked him, "Did you know about the bad things that were going on in your house?" And he said, and he took a long pause, and he goes, not to that extent."
come on, dude.
Yeah.
Come on. Maybe not to the extent of like
where we'll get to at the end where they're chained in like a room. Not to that extent, but as far as like Sherry goes on to talk about her having to help Chad clean blood off a wall from getting his shit beat in by Ruby.
Well, there's like that stuff or denying them food. You knew that was happening.
Yeah.
You knew that those things were happening. And there's just no way that like morally that's got to do something.
The youngest daughter was 6 years old and she got sent off to school. The teachers call Ruby and said, "Hey, she doesn't have anything to eat.
Right.
She didn't pack her lunch, or you didn't send her with a lunch. Could you please come bring her something for lunch?" Ruby says, "No, it's her responsibility to pack her own lunch."
She's 6.
6 years old.
She's in kindergarten.
6 years old.
And she said she told me that she packed a lunch before she left, so that's her
She's
fault.
6 years old.
You're
She's
joking.
6 years old. Yeah.
And there's just no way that Kevin didn't know that type of stuff was happening and why he didn't step in and be like, this is not right.
If you guys go and watch this, which I'm sure you have if you're watching this, if you go back and rewatch that, Kevin is all about making Ruby happy.
Yeah.
If it means putting his kids in a fire, he will make sure he saves Ruby first.
Yeah. Well, then he went into that whole breakdown of like being the perfect like candidate for her to choose because she had that
was weird too.
Spreadsheet in her.
We could talk about how they met too if you want, because I don't think this is going to get into it. They
Yeah.
went to the same Mormon church.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about it, or you want me to lead it?
It doesn't matter. I can jump in.
Yeah, go ahead.
She basically had this like spreadsheet in her closet that he had found where she had laid out all of the qualities that she was looking for in like a partner. And that was along the side. And then along the top were all of these different men that she had like...
There's 5 guys.
Yeah, that she was like scouting out to see who was going to fill in the most boxes. And he said he went home and like studied that chart to make sure that he was the one that she chose. And then like...
Which I'm all for, 100%. Love at first sight. If that's your girl, go after her, whatever.
Yeah.
But... You have to
Cool.
I can't explain it to a point to where you have to see how much, like, I'm talking on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
that whole thing just gave me an ick. And then just the way that everything unfolded with him. And he was like, I love her and I want to protect her and I want to be with her. And I would do anything that she asked me to do if it meant that I could have her. At the end of the day, I was like, ooh, I don't know. Because then it started to get into some super dark shit. And he was like, well, I love her.
We'll talk about the demonic possessions in a little bit. But I have to tell you about some of the... you don't have TikTok.
No.
But I have to tell you about some of the TikToks that have popped up on my algorithm that have been making fun of Jody.
Oh, no. I was sitting there. I was trying not to laugh when they showed her
This
like,
girl.
she's mine. I was like,
This girl, Erica showed it to me. This girl's mimicking her. And she's like sitting on a couch and she's like having like these demonic seizures and stuff. She's like, she's mine. And then she like peeks open up her eyes. She's like, go get the baby oil. she's mine. Oh
my gosh. It is
it's
whack.
Funny.
Wow.
Even before Frankie's arrest in 2023, 8 passengers had come under intense scrutiny due to Frankie's. I can't stop laughing about that. Intense scrutiny due to Frankie's parenting techniques. In June 2020, Frankie's then 15-year-old son, Chad, was filmed. This is big right here.
Yeah.
He was filmed saying he had been sleeping on a beanbag chair in the family's basement for 7 months as a form of punishment.
7.
And when they posted this video,
she literally looked over and said, I don't think they know that. And then he leaned over and was like, yeah, I've been sleeping on a beanbag in the basement for 7 months.
yeah, I mean.
And you can hear the oldest daughter in the background going like, yeah, like, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, tell
Yeah,
Sherry.
and then when this happened, obviously I'm going to re-say this, but when this happened, all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
Like their algorithm completely switched from,
Yeah.
oh my God, we love your family,
to what is going on in that house.
Another thing about this, like their rise to fame was they found out that Chad and Sherry are very important in this because they found out that anytime they make a video, their videos did so much better when Sherry or Chad was the thumbnail because Chad was like the heartthrob and Sherry was like one that,
ew.
Yeah.
They're children.
Like, he was like, and Kevin comes out and says, he's like living all of my dreams that I had when I was like they were glorifying.
Oh, absolutely.
As parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it gave me the ick.
So when these kids are seeing like Chad saying, these girls are saying Chad been sleeping on a beanbag chair for 7 months, people started freaking the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, is there something like comments? Is there something that we can do? Is there somebody that we can call? What can we do? This isn't right. And Sherry just turned the comments off, deleted the video. Mm-hmm. It got very bad from here.
Yeah.
Okay. Other videos showed Frankie threatening to take away meals or threatening to cut off the head. Oh my God. I forgot about this. Or threatening to cut off the head of one of the child's teddy bears. It was a cat. You remember this? It was the youngest girl. She said, if you don't start listening to me, I'm going to take your little stuffed doll and cut its head off.
Yes.
And the daughter just starts crying.
Yeah.
That is so bad.
And like, it really got to me when they would show Ruby saying like, why are you talking? You know I'm recording. Get out. And like, that was often for those kids. Like that was a frequent thing in their household, and they knew it. Like if the camera was
there's
on,
so much footage of
straighten
that
up,
happening.
which is
so much footage.
Oh, I hated it.
Another showed some members of the family opening Christmas presents while the 2 youngest children were not given any gifts that year.
Because that's when the whole like demonic thing started.
Yeah.
Like that was the first inclination that Ruby was pushing this, that these kids were evil.
So Sherry and Chad got Christmas presents while the 2 youngest didn't. Mm-hmm. And Sherry and Chad are just sitting because Sherry had come home from college, and they're just sitting there kind of like awkwardly opening up these presents while their youngest siblings are just sitting there.
Yeah.
That is
And she
bad.
said to the youngest ones, your Christmas presents this year is your husband or my husband, like your dad, and mine's love for you. Like that's
Santa's not coming this year.
No. Oh, gross.
The docuseries alleges that according to those around her, Ruby was privately upset about the criticism from viewers. Well, yeah, I mean, her biggest thing was other people's approval.
Right.
In public, however, she dismissed critics, telling the Wrap in 2021 that she was only demonstrating what a responsible mother looks like.
Which this is when all of their content took a shift.
Yes.
When she was like, if you guys are upset about my parenting, like, let me explain to you why I do it. And then it turned into this whole, like...
cult.
Let me show you what being a good mom looks like.
Yeah.
Like, you guys clearly are understanding where I'm coming from, so let me show you.
Yeah.
Ooh. Jody Hildebrandt is a therapist who had her license suspended in 2012 after she reportedly told Mormon church leaders about a patient's porn addiction. Through the recommendation of a family friend who attended Hildebrandt's Connections curriculum, the Frankies hired Hildebrandt to counsel a then teenage Chad Franke who had been acting out at home and in school. The docuseries contextualizes this so-called bad behavior. As Chad got older, he recalls he began to push back against being filmed for 8 passengers, saying that incoming brand deal scripts made him feel controlled.
It wasn't just him either, it was Sherry.
Right.
She said they changed all of the yellow lights in the house to the bright white fluorescence, and kind of home felt like a camera set.
Right. And I just can't imagine that as kids that was like an easy thing to go through in that sense.
No. I mean, you're constantly being, like, literally constantly being filmed. Ruby filmed some of the most, and this is another reason why their content started taking a dip. Ruby filmed some of the most sensitive things.
Yeah.
Like, they filmed their daughter shaving her legs for the first time.
Puberty. Like Sherry said, we literally went through puberty on camera for millions of people to watch.
Yeah. She filmed her son, it was the youngest son or the daughter's reaction to telling them a loved one had passed away.
Yeah.
Filmed the reaction.
Yeah. It's awful.
Like, at some point, there's got to be some kind of, like, there has to be some kind of word for this. Like, they label that as like a disease.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that's called.
And like saying that he feels controlled is like, there's no other way. Like, that's 100% valid.
Yeah.
Because there's just no way that you don't. He wasn't alone in these feelings. The kids started to complain about everything, Kevin tells filmmakers, recalling how they would claim to be bored and say they didn't want to be filmed. Concerned that the kids were, quote, losing their light, Ruby leaned harder into Hildebrandt's hardline teachings of family discipline. The docuseries reports that Hildebrandt was divorced and estranged from her own children because she had 2 kids.
Yeah.
What? No way. Like, I thought that she was coming into this as like a masculine female. I literally...
Which she is.
Yes. My first impressions of her were, okay, like, she's 100% like single. Like, and they kept pushing this, like, she hates men. She doesn't support men. She wants men to fall under these lines and this, whatever.
That's what Kevin said. Kevin said his first time doing the session with them, it felt like a male hate group.
Yeah. And then to find out that she's divorced and she has 2 kids that she doesn't even talk to anymore.
Let me explain something to you. I'm married. Mm-hmm. She's married. Don't take marriage advice from someone who's divorced.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Well, especially to the extent that Jody took it. Like, it wasn't just like subtle things here and there. Like, the little things.
It was like
a boot camp.
It was cult leader-ish.
Yes.
It was very Jim Jones-ish.
Yes.
Like, they said several times in that documentary, like, they were drinking her Kool-Aid.
That's a really good comparison. I like that.
It was very Jim Jones-ish.
Okay. I like that.
Okay. As the Frankies started doing weekly counseling sessions with Hildebrandt, Ruby began training as a coach in Connections. And you could tell when they showed that video of, like, they did, like, the video, and she was like, "Hi, I'm Jody Hildebrandt," and she was like, "I'm her sidekick, Ruby."
Oh.
You could tell, you could see how giddy and joyful Ruby was.
Yeah.
Being right there.
She found her purpose there.
She was pumped about that. She and Hildebrandt also posted to an Instagram account called Moms of Truth. Meanwhile, Sherry started to research Hildebrandt online and found that the counselor had lost her therapy license and was the subject of numerous complaints by former patients. It should have all ended right there.
Right there.
Should have all ended right there. Sherry, her intuition, red flags from the jump.
Yeah.
Ruby shrugged off these concerns, believing Hildebrandt had been sent to the family for a reason.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
In August of 2021, Hildebrandt moved in with the Frankies. Moved from this mansion. In with the Frankies.
Yes.
Because she was going through we're going to get to this, demonic possessions.
In her household.
Had
the higher ups in the church came and were praying over her house, praying these demons away, praying the evil away. And then she was like, "I just can't live here anymore. Can I come live with you?" And Ruby was like, "Yes. Yes, you can." That was one of those moments for me when I was watching it where I was like, there's just no way, right? There's just no way. And they did it.
Yeah, I was speechless too.
Yes.
I was speechless too. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Oh
when
my
Kevin
gosh.
was like, "Yeah, I walked in and I seen the big handprint on the glass, and it's just a smudge."
You're telling me a human didn't do that?
It's
And that's
just-
exactly
just
what
a
the producer said. They
It's just
said,
a
"You don't think a human reached up there and did
And he
that?"
goes,
And he said,
No,
"Uh-uh.
no.
No, that's otherworldly right there. Stop."
Yeah. Jody would go into these possessed trances. Okay, so Ruby and Kevin had become convinced that the counselor was under the influence of demonic possession. Jody would go into these possessed trances, Kevin tells filmmakers. She would start speaking in other voices. You have to see it. I'm sure you've seen it, but you have to see this to
You
believe
have
it.
to see it. It's just not right.
I'm going to send you that fucking video of that
yes,
girl making
please.
fun of her because you're going to cry. Ruby was so concerned that she began sleeping in Hildebrandt's bedroom.
Okay, at what point are we going to say enough is enough?
So Jody, this was 2 weeks before Sherry gets sent off to college. So
Yes.
on their way back, Ruby calls Sherry and says, "Hey, we're bringing Jody back. She's going to live with us. She's going to take her your room."
So
Sherry,
make sure your stuff is out. You got
make
like
sure
2
your
hours.
stuff is out. So Sherry is like, "Okay, I only got 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
Whatever."
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if this is going to get to it or not, but Sherry goes off to college and
Yeah.
she comes back, and in her bedroom is lit candles, oil all over the bedroom. And the producer asked her, "Was it more than just, a friendship?" And she's like, "I have my own opinions, but
Yeah, and she talks about that in the book.
yeah."
Like she's like, "I don't know for a fact that it was this or it was that, but I feel very confident in saying it was more than just Ruby going in there to pray with her."
And there's a few reasons why.
Yeah.
And we'll get to like the biggest one here
Yeah.
soon. Like
Yeah.
she would start, speaking other voices. Ruby was so concerned that she began sleeping in Hildebrandt's bedroom. One day, while home from college, yes, it does get into it, Sherry walked into her old bedroom. At that point, was occupied by Hildebrandt and Ruby, and found massage oils and candles strewn everywhere. It was much more than a friendship, Kevin tells filmmakers. This was coming from Kevin.
Right.
Much more than a sisterhood. It was uncomfortably intimate.
Let's highlight that word. Intimate.
You guys are Mormons of Christian faith. What are we doing?
What are we doing?
What are we doing?
That you're fully married, husband,
What are we
6
doing?
kids.
That's why I think that he had some twisted
like a kink, like a
he liked
fetish.
it. Like he liked it.
Okay.
Like what
No, 100%.
other fucking reason
Yeah, I can see that.
would it be?
Ew, I don't like to think about that.
Like I'm just genuinely trying to figure out, like, if you know your wife is cheating on you with this manly woman,
She's
because we will
scary.
literally, she's scary, and you're just not doing nothing about it.
Nothing. He was like a puppy on a leash in that situation. And like it's kind of hard to not feel some sort of like sympathy towards him when you're watching it, even if it's not a lot, because of the way that it's set up, and he really does look distraught. He looks like oh my God, I just had no idea.
So I've kind of skipped ahead, and this doesn't get to the reason why them two being a thing makes the most sense. Okay, so this says, not long after, Ruby instructed Kevin and Chad to move out of their house. Reason being, they started having these sessions. Jody did with men. And Kevin was like her star pupil to start off with. She like put him on a praise and said, "You guys all in this group need to start taking after Kevin, blah, 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 blah."
Right. He was like the perfect husband.
As time went on, and then as Jody wiggled her way into their life, and then she got moved in, she started turning on Kevin
Right.
in those groups, saying, we're going to talk about separation.
Every marriage needs a separation.
Every marriage needs a separation. And her plan was, I need to separate Kevin so I can have Ruby to myself.
Yes, 100%.
And then guess what fucking happens?
He leaves.
Ruby instructed Kevin and Chad to move out of their house, telling Kevin, "I don't want you to have any contact with me or the kids." Ruby also disowned Sherry, who was attending BYU after finding out she had tried to contact Kevin.
That's what I'm saying. There are so many points that, like, why, like, when are we going to say enough is enough? Like, why are you just looking at your husband and saying, get out?
Producer,
like, we need a separation.
Producer says, so after she told you this, what did you say? He goes, oh, I said, okay.
Shut up. And then he said he went upstairs, told all of his kids bye, packed his bags, and left.
There is footage of this day.
Because she sat on the bed and he was like, she was recording all of these moments that I was
telling
having
the kids,
with
go
my
say
kids,
bye to dad, kids. And
with like a
smile,
smirk
with
on
a
her
smile
face.
on her face.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
with a smile on her face.
Stop it. And I know he probably feels a lot about this moment that we're talking about right now because of everything that came of it. But golly.
A fucking year went by.
And you didn't have there was no contact with your wife or your kids?
After Kevin moved out, more YouTube viewers and neighbors in Springville began to voice concern about what might be happening in the Franke's home. At this point, Ruby appeared to be spending more and more time at Jody's house and Evans?
Ivans?
Ivans. It's Ilvins, I think. Leaving the young kids whose age leaving them.
Leaving them.
Rephrase that. Leaving them to go to Jody's house. And these kids were young, whose ages ranged from approximately 9 to 15 alone. Sherry, who was still in touch with the neighbors, called the police and asked for a welfare check on the kids.
But she did that because one of the neighbors said, I keep seeing these little faces peek out from the windows. I don't think your mom is there. And Sherry's like, I mean, I don't know what I can do about it, but I'll call again. Because prior to this, she had already been calling, saying, I need you guys to check on this. And they came back to her and they were like, we got to close the case. There's nothing else we can do. There's no evidence. So she calls again, can I get like a welfare check on this house? Because all of the neighbors had seen Ruby leaving these kids at home and disappearing. It's so infuriating.
Yeah. However, the police were unable to enter the Franke home without a warrant, which a judge declined to sign off on.
How can you, as a judge, decline a welfare check on children?
I don't understand it. I mean, once you hear, hey, the mom hasn't been home in weeks,
do something about it.
There's a 9-year-old in there.
Oh, but we don't have enough evidence, so we can't.
We need a warrant. At what point do you just sit here and say, hey, maybe we should go save the kids?
Yeah. Bust that door down.
Yeah.
I don't care what comes of it. Bust that door down.
Yeah. Neighbors also frequently tried to contact Kevin, who was unresponsive and even blocked their numbers on occasion. This dude was getting texts from the neighbors saying, hey, dude, your kids might be in some trouble. We're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, we haven't seen Ruby or whatever. Block. No response, blocked them.
Which, okay, why? Why? Is it because...
He said, my wife told me not to contact anybody, and I wanted to obey my wife, and I wanted my family back. But I'm not going to go save my family.
Stop.
This dude is out there.
It's almost embarrassing.
Yeah. A Change.org petition from May 2020 calling for the Utah Division of Child and Family Services to check on the children's well-being garnered more than 18,000 signatures.
18,000 signatures for a freaking welfare check.
Yeah, CPC said they were unable to intervene. I don't know if that means CPS or CBC. CPC said they were unable to intervene because they could not see any physical signs of abuse on the Franke children, who had been instructed not to answer the door. At the time, Kevin told filmmakers that he was holding out hope Ruby would let him move back into their home and pledged to respect her no-contact wishes. Until that point, he even continued to attend the weekly online connections men's group led by Hildebrandt.
Hildebrandt had him right where she wanted him.
Yep.
And the fact that he's still engaged in the connection stuff, that's wild.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
When Ruby and Jody were arrested, Ruby called Kevin after a year of not speaking to him, asking if he'd picked up their 2 youngest children at the police station, framing it as a way to, quote, redeem himself.
There's a lot here.
Yes.
Okay, there's a lot here. When Ruby and Jody were arrested, Ruby called Kevin after a year.
A year.
Let that marinate.
Which
we'll give you some time. Let that marinate. After a year, no contact. 365 days.
Of nothing. Nothing from your wife, nothing from your kids.
You have a 9-year-old. How big has that 9-year-old gotten in a year?
A lot. A lot can change in a year.
I'm pissed even talking about this because that's fucking bonkers.
Yeah.
That's putting it.
And then the first thing she says is, "Hey, something has happened, and I wanna let you know about it. The kids are down at the police station. If you want to go pick them up, they'll be there." What?
Dude walks into the police station. You scared the shit out of me. Dude walks into the police station. Hey,
I'm here to pick up my kids.
I'm Kevin Franke. Where are my kids at? Let me holler at them. I'm here to pick them up.
Way.
They're like, take a seat, bud.
Yeah, like what do you mean you're here to pick up your kids? They're like, do you even know what's happening? And he's like, oh, I have no idea what's going on.
They're like, take a seat.
Oh, okay. That's another one of those moments. Like, I literally can't stop my jaw from hitting the ground when even listening to it again makes me sick.
They're like, nah, you're not.
We've got some questions for you, buddy.
Yeah. I'm not laughing at this moment, but like your 9-year-old boy, you can see his tendons showing in his fucking legs.
Oh my gosh. The whole footage of Kevin sitting in that room while they're telling him what's happening. And he's like, but where's Frankie? Or where's
Ruby? Where's my wife?
Where's Ruby? What happened to Ruby? Oh, Ruby also told Kevin that the 2 younger children were demonically possessed and that she could only imagine their lies. The younger son was telling the police.
Piss me off. Piss me off.
I don't even have words. I get so frustrated that I feel like I am experiencing like a brain fog when it comes to this situation right here.
Piss me off.
Oh my gosh.
Upon searching Hildebrandt's home, police found rope, handcuffs, medical gauze, and a mixture of cayenne pepper and honey in a safe room.
Which, okay, so I don't know if you did, but I never looked up what the son's, like the extent of his...
They kind of talked about it, but I didn't look at anything.
Okay, so with the other podcast that I was listening to that covered this case, she was like, I'm going to leave it up to like the viewer's discretion to look at that if you choose to look at that. But she said it was like very, very gruesome. Like,
I can imagine. You can see his fucking tendons.
Yeah, the stuff on that kid's body, like it was enough to evoke heavy emotions from the police and the medics that were there when they were helping him. Like
they had rope wrapped around him.
Yeah.
Like rope.
Yeah.
And then they had tape wrapped around that.
Yeah, the saran wrap.
It was burning.
Yes, and under it was a layer of the honey and cayenne, and then they put the saran wrap over it, and then the rope or the duct tape, and then they put the rope. So it was like all holding this amount of honey and cayenne to his skin. And anytime he would move or try to get away from it, that's where like that burn was coming in. And it was literally melting his skin. Like, it's awful. Awful. Oh, it made me sick. Seeing that room.
The police were crying.
Yes.
Like,
she came out and she was like, I'm going to cry.
I can't do this.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, they also found a handwritten journal where Ruby had chronicled the day-to-day series of events as she tried to exorcise her children.
That was another one of those moments that I was like, there's no way that she wrote it all down from her perspective. As a mom.
There was one that they took the boy out in the middle of the fucking desert and like made him like run, or they made him do something.
Well, there was the trampoline. He had to jump on the trampoline for so long, and then he had to hold the weights while he was jumping on the trampoline. He had to run. There was another one that he had to do in the sun all day, and if he would try to take a break or like get shade, they wouldn't give him water.
He just had to stand out in the sun. Yeah.
Yeah, and he would have such bad sunburn that like his skin was literally melting off, and they wouldn't help him because that was them like exorcising the demons out of him. Anytime they found out that he was trying to get water, like if they would let him go to the bathroom and they found out that he was drinking water in the bathroom, punishment 10 times worse. Like, it is disgusting, the stuff that happened to these kids.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to talk about. It literally, I was sitting on my couch.
I didn't research if there was any fucking drugs involved in this. Were they on drugs?
I don't think so.
I mean, what is it?
Just the freaking respect.
Like, there's like
faith.
some kind of psychotic, like psychosis, like something. Like, what is this?
I will never understand this mindset ever. There's no way to understand it because it is so far out in left field. You would have to study it for years to understand it, and I don't get it.
Police also determined that only the two youngest children had been held at the house. They found the Franke's two middle daughters, Abby and Julie, later at a neighbor's house.
And they look totally fine, which is
They were
interesting.
at a neighbor's house.
Like, they didn't look malnourished. They didn't look like
Neighbors probably feeding them.
yeah, and that's insane to me. How do you think the neighbors felt in that situation when everything started to come out and they had these
knowing
two
that they're
kids?
just sitting right there?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Ruby's escaped son told officers that he and his sister had been forced to stand in the hot sun, tied down to weights, and forced to jump on a trampoline all day. At times, they were also driven into the desert and forced to run.
Yeah. I don't remember what it was called, like the Devil's something, like the road. But it was like a good stretch of road that they just had to run all day.
Both Ruby and Jody pleaded guilty to 4 counts of aggravated child abuse. In a public apology read to the court at the time of sentencing, Ruby addressed her children, who were not present in the courtroom, claiming to have been manipulated by Hildebrandt. I quote, "I'll never stop crying for hurting your tender souls. My willingness to sacrifice all for you was masterfully manipulated into something very ugly. I took from you all that was soft and safe and good." Ruby cast blame on Hildebrandt for what had occurred and agreed to testify against the counselor as part of a plea deal.
Which I think is absolute bullshit. Because while Hildebrandt may have exemplified these things and like made Ruby more intense, she was already a pretty intense mom. She was already pretty intense in her parenting and in her understanding of this quote evil that her kids were experiencing. And I don't know. It did not sit right with me when she put all of the blame on Hildebrandt.
Yeah, in December of 2023, Hildebrandt's attorney told the court that his client would plead guilty instead of face a trial so the children wouldn't have to testify. She takes responsibility, and it is her main concern at this point that these children can heal both physically and emotionally.
Did you know that Hildebrandt is still doing this connection shit from where she sits right now?
What?
She still has connections as a company from where she sits right now.
How does she have
There are people that are working underneath her and her guidance and her teaching and her understanding from where she sits right now.
No way.
Yeah. This whole connections bullshit still to this day is a thing.
How long did they get? Was it 30 years?
They still haven't. It's 4 to 30 for each thing that they're being charged for. It's up to 4 charges. So I still
Jody's
don't
going to
think...
get at least 20.
Yeah. They said the max is 30, but they could
for each
get...
case.
Right.
Yeah,
but
so
they could get as little as 4.
Yeah.
Which...
I don't. With this coming out, I don't see that happening.
Oh, man. It is the most infuriating situation.
And Kevin's part in all of this, from my understanding, is he's trying to get custody of the kids. And I am very torn on this.
Yeah, he is. From Sherry's book, I think it's Sherry's book or something that Sherry had shared. They were like working on this relationship, and he was working to get the 4 younger kids that aren't of age yet back with him.
How do you feel about him getting custody of the kids?
I don't know. Obviously, the dynamic is going to be different regardless because Ruby won't be in the house. But that doesn't mean that his teachings and his principles and his understanding of parenthood and what it means to him is not still going to be corrupt in some way.
How could you live with yourself as a father when the youngest one comes up to you and asks you, "Why did you let mommy do that to us?
Why did you leave?"
Why did you let that happen to us?
It's got to be a really tough position that he's in, but at the same time, come on.
These kids are going to be messed up for a long time. Yeah, this one brought out a lot of emotions in me.
Yeah.
as you can see.
It gets me going. Like
I'm stressed out even fucking talking about it.
yeah,
Thinking that there's people like that out there.
Yeah, and watching the footage and stuff of when they found the little girl.
We didn't talk about that.
Sobbing
We can
mess.
talk about that.
I mean,
there's footage of them opening when they go back to the house. When Russell tells him, "I have a sister,"
and I haven't seen her in a month.
and I
They've been
haven't seen
separated for
her
a month.
in over a month, and they had been separated, and the cops are like, "What?"
There's another.
So a SWAT team goes, boom,
She
up
opens
the door.
I'm on the phone with my attorney. He said,
Yeah,
"That's
he's
great.
like,
Get out of the
all
way."
right, bitch, get the fuck out of the
Move.
house. She was like, "Don't you need a
She's
warrant?"
like,
Not
"You can't
now.
do this. You can't do
You
this."
need a warrant. He was like, "Not now, we don't. Not no more, we don't." Yeah, and he goes, "What's the?" He goes downstairs to a safe. He goes, "What's the combination to the safe?" "Oh, I don't
know. I've never used it.
I've never used it." Cop goes, "Okay, I'm just going to enter in 1, 2, 3, 4."
It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Click. And he turned around and he said, "There's no way."
There's no way.
And it's like a vault.
Yeah, a vault.
It's like I don't know what that handle's called, but he clicked it down and then poof, it opened.
Yeah, I think that's where they kept all the that wasn't where the girl was
There
it?
no, there was a sink and a toilet and a refrigerator and a bed in that little safe room.
Yeah.
But it was like obviously it's like a vault. You're locked. If you're in there, you're locked in.
Yeah.
There's no way to get out.
So that room has been used.
Yeah.
For that.
Yeah, and that's where some of the medical stuff was. But she was in a closet off of one of the bedrooms and she was just sitting there and it is horrific to watch. I've seen it a couple times now and every time it comes up I will be crying. It is awful.
It was so bad that the cop that discovered her, instead of going back out saying, "Hey, blah blah blah, I'm gonna go do this,"
he
sat there with her.
I'm gonna stay right here with her.
Yeah.
And they got her pizza and she eventually, after I don't remember how long it was.
She wouldn't talk. She wouldn't say nothing.
No, but she agreed to come out with them and she went to the hospital and was evaluated and stuff. But just the footage from this stuff alone. Oh.
I'm very curious to see if there's ever going to be interviews with those kids. If those kids will ever,
when they come of age and
if they'll ever come out and talk. I'm curious to hear that.
I hope they do if it's something that they choose to do.
I wouldn't obviously mind if they didn't, but as a
part of their journey.
Yeah.
Let me tell my side of what it was like to experience what I went through. Because obviously there's going to be with all of this coming out right now.
Kind of like the girl that was missing for a long time that we did.
JC Lee Dugard.
JC Dugard, yeah.
And she came out and she told her story as a part of, the stuff that she went through. And I think that is brave.
Yeah.
Bold. And I hope that those kids, I don't know. I hope good and amazing things for them because this one is tough.
Yeah. I think that's all we got for today.
Go watch it if you haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Because it's
another good one coming next week revolving. I think it's trending to, what's the name of that? Fox Hollow Murders. I couldn't even say that.
No, that's a tongue twister. Don't even ask me to.
The Fox Hollow Murders. I guess that's like a real big one right now. But
we'll be back.
like and subscribe. See ya.
See ya.